Hi, my name is Jalaa, and this is my grandmother, Faye Montgomery. Question 1. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the north side of Philadelphia, on a little street called Brown Street.
Question 2. Do you have any brothers and sisters? If so, how many?
Yes, I had 10 brothers and 2 sisters. There was 13 of us, 10 boys and 3 girls, and I was number 9. I had 4 children up under me.
What responsibilities and chores did you have as a kid?
My responsibility was making sure we clean our room, watching my younger little brothers and sisters, don't let them get hurt or run out into the street or anything, and going to the store for my mother to purchase items for dinner. I had to go down on the avenue, which was called Ridge Avenue, and there was a poultry store called Lab's Poultry Market, and they sold poultry meat, chicken and stuff, and I would go and get chicken so that we would cook fresh chicken for dinner.
Who was your best friend, and what fun things did you do together?
My best friend was her name was Michelle Ruffin, and her nickname was TT. We called her TT. And we played games at her house. She had board games. We played Life, Trouble, and Twister. And then when we played outdoors, we played hopscotch, we played jump rope, we played double dutch, and we jumped together as partners. And we could jump in and play together. And we did tricks and stuff while we were jumping double dutch. And then sometime we would braid each other's hair while we were sitting on the steps.
What do you remember about the 5th grade?
I remember I went to Bache Martin Elementary School, and we walked to school. It was a couple blocks up from where I lived. And in the 5th grade, I was in a music class, and I played a cello. And I knew how to play the violin. Also, my sister Vivian had a violin, but I learned how to play the violin and the cello, and I did that in 5th and 6th grade.
How old were you when you moved to North Carolina?
I was 16 years old when I moved to North Carolina. I used to come in the summer and visit my grandparents. They lived in Taylorsville. And when I was 16, my grandmother said that I could stay, and I started school down here and finished school in North Carolina.
How different was life for you in North Carolina?
It was very different. It was much quieter, less chaotic, clean and pretty, and I was really amazed at the green grass and the farm animals. My grandparents had a lot of land. They had a mountain behind the house, and my grandfather raised cows and pigs, and he also raised tobacco. And in the summer we would help do tobacco and hand tobacco and help string it. And then at the end of the season of tobacco, we would have like a bonfire around the tobacco barn and roast hot dogs, which we called them weenies, and marshmallows, and we'd have a big celebration after he get all the tobacco in the barn.
Did you miss your family back in Philadelphia?
Yes, I did. I missed my family and my friends, and I missed the activities that we would do, because where we lived, it was stores on just about every other corner, and we could walk to the candy store and pay pennies for candy, or a nickel or a dime, and get potato chips and soda. And just right across the street, it was dry cleaners and different things, and we had a playground about 2 blocks away, and we'd go to the playground and go swimming, and in a recreation center, play in there and play softball, swing on the swing. And I really missed that after I moved down here, because we didn't get to go to playgrounds and stuff.
What woman did you admire as a kid?
I admired my mother first and most of all, because my mother raised all of our children, and she didn't have a job, and she was on welfare for a long time, but she made ends meet, and we always had food and clothing. She was really strong about preparing for her children. But I also had this lady, her name was Sister Mars, and she went to a little storefront church down on Girard Avenue, and she would come by, and at that time she had a black station wagon. It was like a couple rows of seats in the car, and she would get me and all my friends and take us to her church for Bible study, and on Friday nights they would pick us up and we'd go, and on Sundays. And not far from the church, it was a place sort of like McDonald's, but back then it was called Geno's, and they sold hamburgers and milkshakes and French fries. And there was another place down the street called Roy Rogers, and they sold roast beef. It's kind of similar to Hardee's. So if we were good and we went to church, after church service was over, she would take us across the street and let us get hamburgers and milkshakes. So that was a good thing about going to church. And I really admire how she made sure that we learned about God. And then I had a reading teacher in elementary school. Her name was Miss Talley. And she taught us how to read and pronounce words and make sure that we were on our reading levels. And she had a little separate reading room that she would come and get certain children. And she taught us how to excel in our speaking and reading.
What woman do you admire as an adult?
Well, I really admire Oprah Winfrey. I really admire her. And the reason I admire her, because she teaches you how to invest in yourself mentally, spiritually, and how to improve your thinking and anything that you want to achieve. And she reminds you that it begins within you, how to be your best that you can be.
Do you think a woman will ever be president of the USA?
Yes, I do. I think a woman will be president in the near future.
What is the hardest thing that you have faced in life, and how did you overcome it?
One of the hardest things that I have faced was battling breast cancer. I've had breast cancer twice. The first time I had it was in 2010. And I went through chemo and radiation. I had 13 rounds of chemo. I had 35 rounds of radiation. And then in 2012, 2 years later, it returned and came back again. So I didn't have to go through the radiation again, but I had to go through the chemo again, and I had 8 more rounds of chemo. And I overcame the breast cancer, and now this is I'm going into my 6th year. I've already made 5 years of surviving the cancer, and I'm going into my 6th year of surviving the breast cancer.
What accomplishments are you most proud of?
I've had a lot of accomplishments, but I'm most proud is while I was battling the cancer, I was also a student in college. I attended Mitchell College, and I was able to keep my classes going and finish my studies, and I graduated from Mitchell College. And I was 50 years old during the time when I was going to college, and I graduated in 2012 with an associate's degree with a double major in business administration and retail and marketing. And I was pretty proud that I was able to continue on and finish even though I was going through the chemo.
What are your future plans?
My future plans is to stay healthy, take care of myself, and take care of my grandchildren. I want to be there for them and be healthy, and I plan to take my grandchildren on a Disney cruise someday in the near future.
What advice would you give to people my age?
The advice that I would give would be to listen very well, to learn as much as you can. When someone tells you something that's older than you, listen and take it and use it, because at your age right now you really can't see what you're going to go through in life, but somebody that's already been through it, they can tell you how it's going to be, because sometimes you don't understand why things happen the way they do, but if you listen and be obedient and learn, get an education. I mean, even if you don't get to go to college, but any time that you can learn something, learn a trade, an education, it will help you down the line. And something that I wish that I had learned at an earlier age is about finances. Learn about finances and the value of money. Because if you know what money is about and finances, you can put it away and know how to do it, and someday you'll be able to retire early with a lot of money.